Hey, good morning, everybody out there in YouTube land. I'm John, and I'm back on my channel, Musings of a Marine. And I wanted to do a video this morning that is very near and dear to my heart. And it's something I thought about doing for a long time. Most of my videos are about my experiences in going to trips in the Philippines. And this video is going to be about that, but it's going to have a different twist to it, because I think this video is going to fill a void. You've got all these wonderful vloggers out there doing videos about their experiences in the Philippines and talking about all the great places that there are to go and going to these places. And I just think that's awesome. And my wife and I enjoy the heck out of watching these videos. We watch it more than regular television now. And it's probably because it's better content than regular television now here in the U.S. But anyways, those are the ultimate reality shows, in my opinion. But here's the deal. There's also vloggers out there who, for whatever reason, want to do videos comparing the Philippines to Thailand, to Malaysia. There's one vlogger out there, I think, called Philippines Truth, where I'm not sure if the guy lives in the Philippines. Sounds like he does. But he likes Malaysia and Thailand better. And that's okay. That's his opinion. He can like wherever he likes and live wherever he wants, you know, if he has the ability to do that. So I'm not here to argue with anybody today about why the Philippines is number one for me. And a little disclaimer, I've never been to Malaysia or Thailand. They could be wonderful countries. I'm sure they're very beautiful countries in some areas. And one of the arguments was that these other countries have a better infrastructure than the Philippines, particularly in internet. I'm not going to argue with that. Sometimes the internet in the Philippines is not the greatest. We in the United States are used to, with our cell phones, having cell phone carriers, be it AT&T or whoever. T-Mobile is what my wife and I use. And they, you know, we have this phone service, which includes data and texting and all that. Whereas in the Philippines, typically you got to go to a cell phone store and get load into your phone, okay? And to me, that's inconvenient, and the Wi-Fi doesn't work as well. So, you know, those are some problems that the Philippines, I think, could work on. But that's just the way they do things there. You know, you can't expect them to be as good as here in the U.S., and I don't. And, yeah, if they're better in other countries, okay, that's fine. One other thing that was mentioned is that Filipino women tend to be shorter. That was literally a knock against them, and I think that is hilarious. You know, I'm 5'9.5", a little bit taller than that maybe, and I like to be taller than the woman I'm with. I'm sorry if that makes me a sexist, whatever, okay? But that's the way I like it. My wife is 5'2". Thankfully, her new car has memory seating in it, so we each can have our own adjustment when we get into the vehicle. But, you know, it's a thing that, you know, that's a problem? Really? Okay. Yeah, okay. So the women in Malaysia or Thailand have longer legs. There was a knock against Filipino women for trying to make their skin look lighter. And yeah, to me, if they want to do that, that's fine. I can think of some actresses in the Philippines, Erich Gonzalez notably, who used to be much darker than she is now. Still gorgeous, but whatever. But, you know, that's one of the things I like about Filipino women is they do have a tan to them. My wife Diana being from Iloilo on the island of Panay. And, of course, you have the Yati people that live there who have dark skin. And because, no doubt, my wife, some of her blood comes from that group of people. And so her and her family are a little bit dark-skinned. My great nephew Miggs is very dark-skinned, and he doesn't like it. But it's like, so what? You know, who cares? You know, you don't have the, you know, perhaps maybe the racism over there, but some people maybe look down over there for that. If so, I don't know why. But I'll tell you what, I'll take a nice tan Filipino woman over a pale-faced American woman any day. You know, if you don't have skin tone, it looks like you're sick or something, if you ask me. So, but, you know, one guy was claiming that, you know, the women are better looking in Thailand and Malaysia than the Philippines. Well, again, that is all relevant, you know, relative, I should say, because it doesn't matter what this person thinks. That is up to them. Okay, everybody has their own taste. You know, I've done my top 10 most pretty women in the Philippines. You know, Mahat Salvador was my number one. It doesn't mean everybody has to agree with that. You may think it's somebody else, and if you do, that's fine. You know, there's a lot of pretty women in the Philippines. And another knock on Filipino women is, yes, they, you know, a lot of them are fat. Well, okay, if you don't like fat women, then don't date one. Don't marry one, all right? Problem solved. Who cares? You know, they eat a lot of rice. That happens. You know, I'm very thankful my wife Diana, who's 62 years old, is not fat. I'm glad she isn't. She took care of herself, and for 62, she looks great. So, but you know what? Some of the people I know who are Filipinas and Filipinos are overweight. I don't care. I love them. They're great people. So, you know, to me, a lot of that stuff is, you know, while it would be nice to have a better infrastructure in the Philippines, nicer roads, nicer internet, things of that nature, I'm going to tell you right here and now that most people who go to the Philippines, live there, or marry somebody from there, that stuff is just a minor inconvenience, okay? We don't really care. There are two main reasons that I love the Philippines. The Philippines has great beaches, great resorts, great places to visit. But there are two main reasons, and number one is the people. And of course, that especially is my wife's family, obviously, because I get along with them great, and they treat me excellent. And of course, my nephew Baba and I are close. But the people in general are very friendly over there and very helpful. And last time I was over there, you know, in July of last year, I needed to know what bus would get me from Mega World to, you know, the Haro Plaza. And, you know, there was a guy there in the terminal who happily explained what bus for me to get on. And I was the only Westerner on that bus. And, you know, it was very, very nice that they helped me out there and get there, because I was by myself. It's my own little adventure. I wanted to go there by myself. After, you know, staying in our condo there by myself. So, anyways, that's numero one, but there is a other reason, and this is where the void is with all the vloggers here. Something that nobody talks about, and that is their faith. One of the things that I love about the Philippines is it is mostly Catholic. And that is probably the second thing I love about that country. And for a host of reasons. Number one, I'm Catholic. I have been all my life. I don't know of any other religion. I was baptized as an infant, and I have known no other faith my entire life. And that's just what I'm comfortable with. And I'm not going to get preachy in this video. You can believe whatever religion you want, okay? That's up to you. But if you are a believer, and more importantly, a Christian believer, tell me one country in Southeast Asia that has a stronger Christian influence than the Philippines. You won't find one. Almost 64% of all people in Malaysia identify as Muslims, okay? Now, I know a lot of good Muslim people, but I'll tell you what, it is undeniable that people who believe in Islam, when you have all these terrorists in the world, they claim to be Muslim. So you have to ask yourself, do you want to live in a country where that is the number one religion that is followed, when people who are Muslims have been the biggest sponsors of terror in this country? All right? So that's something that you might want to think about where you live. The second thing, you talk about Thailand. Over 90% of people who live in Thailand, natives of there, identify as Buddhists. Well, that's fine. Buddhist is not a religion that sponsors terror, but they don't believe in a God in particular. That's one thing I like about Islam, is they believe in a God. Allah is just another way of saying God. And they also hold the Virgin Mary in high esteem, as Catholics do. Okay? This is, it's great that you believe in something, all right? But in the Philippines, well over 90% of the people who profess a faith profess it as Christian, and well over 80% are Catholic. And as a Catholic, it gives me great joy to go to the Philippines and see these beautiful churches all over the country. And I wish I could just go over there one time and do nothing but visit churches. When we were in Bohol last August, part of our tour was visiting these churches, and it was amazing to me. One of them was originally built in 1595. The church I go to here in the United States was built in the 60s, 1960s. I mean, there's no comparison. The church Diana and I go to is a cute little church. It's nice enough, but it has a low ceiling, and there's nothing really spectacular about it. These churches in the Philippines, these Catholic churches, are amazing. And the wonderful thing is no matter where you go in the country, you're not going to have any problem, if you're Catholic, finding a church. There's churches within 10-minute drive of our house in Haro. There's the St. Joseph Seminary right down the road, is walking distance, where we did the Simbang Gabi one year. Of course, there's the Haro Cathedral, Our Lady of Candles, which I consider my parish over there because we live in Haro. We don't always attend Mass there, but that is one church also that's just absolutely amazing. Down the road from there is St. Clement Church, where my brother-in-law Ali and his wife got married. It's a nice church. My nephew Baba goes there sometimes. But there are other churches nearby too. And here's one of the most amazing things, and this is something you'll never see in the United States, I can guarantee you that, is when you go and build a shopping mall, which we're not doing here in the U.S. anymore. We're closing them up because of e-commerce. But can you imagine this? The first time we went to the mall there in Mega World there in Mandurriao in the Iloilo, we go to this mall, they have a chapel on the roof of the mall. They hold a Catholic Mass there every Sunday at 11 a.m. So, I mean, who would think of that? But I want people to stop and think, if you're going to retire in the Philippines, a country that seems very religious to me, why would you not want to retire in a country that is so in tune with your faith? And so for me personally, that's why I would choose the Philippines over those other countries. It is of the Catholicism. And some people would say, would knock the Philippines and say, well, the Catholicism has an impact on the government over there. Well, I'm a Catholic. I don't care. I'm personally okay with that. The fact that abortion is illegal in the Philippines, I'm very okay with. To me, it's murder, and no one is going to convince me otherwise. All right, for biological and religious reasons. And look at the science. It is, okay? But anyways, I'm not here to discuss that. I'm to discuss my love of faith, my love of Christianity, and my love of Catholicism. And the Philippines is the place, if you're going to retire in a country and live cheaper in Southeast Asia, there's nowhere else to go. That's it. And if you are a believer, it should be a very important part of your life. And it is to me. I've been, obviously, to my fair share of churches in the Philippines. I have not been to Miagao Church yet, which isn't that far away, but you can bet that's on my bucket list of places to go. And I love to buy, trinkets when I go to these churches. I've got this little cross here that I'm wearing right now. I bought this from a street vendor right in front of Harrow Cathedral. My bracelet here, these are commonly worn by people in the Philippines. This one I actually got in Rome, or better yet, I should say the Vatican, Vatican City. So this stuff should, if you're a believer, if you're Christian, should really mean something to you. And if you're not Catholic, that's okay. Where else are you going to go in Southeast Asia that's going to have your faith? There are many Christian denominations that are represented in the Philippines. In Iloilo, you have Central Philippine University. It is a Baptist university, founded by an American. And so, I've known people that worked there who were Baptists. My wife has relatives in Bacolod who are Baptists, and that can be, an influence there. But you can go to the tiny island of Limasawa, south of Cebu, where, they claim that's where the first Catholic Mass was held. I don't know if that's true or not, but there's churches of all kinds of denominations there. So people have done so many vlogs of how wonderful these countries that they visit are. But what about your faith? If you're a believer, that should matter. And that's why the Philippines will always be number one. I grew up in a family as a kid that unfortunately was kind of a house divided. My mom was Lutheran. She refused to convert to Catholicism. So me and my three siblings and my dad would go to Catholic Mass on Sunday, and my mom would go to a Lutheran service with our neighbors across the street, the Shellis family. And ironically, my childhood friend Doug Shellis is a Lutheran pastor now. And I always felt, how unfortunate, especially when I was a little kid, I was close with my mom, and she doesn't go to church with us, okay? And so when I discovered, when I was overseas, stationed in Okinawa, that most Filipinos are Catholic, to me, that was all the more reason to marry a Filipina. So I would know that if we ever had kids growing up, that this would not be a house divided religious-wise, and we could all go church together. That means something to me. Unfortunately, I got away from going to church in Okinawa, and then when I came back to the States, my dad had a rule. You live under, our roof here in our house, you go to church. So I got back into going, but then I moved out of the house as a single man, and I got away from it. And thankfully, when I found my wife, I found somebody to go to Mass with, and that was really what I was looking for. That's really what was keeping me from going to church. It just didn't feel right to me going by myself, and which could be a lame excuse to some people, but that's how I felt. And then I had somebody that I could go to church with. And I made the assumption that my wife was religious. When we were dating, I went to Cancun, Mexico. I went a trip there. And out in the city of Cancun, I bought this nice big cross made of sand for her. And She liked it. Still hangs in our bedroom to this day. Even though goes back to 1997 when I got it for her. But wow, you know, it is so nice that when I go to church, I can have my wife there with me. And so I would tell people that if you are looking to retire in Southeast Asia, if you are a Christian, if you are a Catholic and you're a believer and your faith is important to you, well, it should supersede everything else, shouldn't it? Shouldn't God and Jesus come first to you if you're a Christian? And if that is the case, then where else would you live? Because you're not going to find that anywhere except for in the Philippines if you're going to live over in Southeast Asia because you want to live in a country where it's beautiful, the weather is warm, the cost of living is cheaper than whatever Western country you're from. Where else would you go? Philippines is the place. So I thank you for watching this video. It means a lot to me. It really does, because it's the most important thing. We're not going to be on this earth forever. Something's going to happen when we die. And if you're a believer, you can practice your faith in the Philippines if you want to retire in Southeast Asia. If you're a Christian, if you're a Catholic, that's where you can do it. And consider that, please, when you decide where you want to live, because everything else, you know, is secondary to me. So that's all I got to say. Thanks for watching. I'm John. This is my channel, Musings of a Marine. Hit the like button if you enjoyed what I had to say. Subscribe if you like what I have to say. I have many other videos. This is my 49th, and I do appreciate you watching. Take care. God bless. And as always, Semper Fi.